very good. Okay, very good.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Hard Factor presented by the Barstool News Network. It is Monday, September 28th, 2020. We have a huge show. We have an interview with Andrew Yang.
Fucking Yang gang.
Oh man, what a big one. It was a great conversation too. So I think everybody's going to really enjoy it. But before we hit a couple quick stories before that interview, we learned that 2020 football season bad for all of us here at Hard Factor. So we're recording this right after the Eagles just
that's
gave up
I'm
on
so
football.
embarrassed.
Yeah.
I'm so embarrassed with the Eagles' performance. They punted for the tie. I mean, go for it on 4th and 14 or try the 64-yard field goal. Jake Elliott's got a cannon of a leg. They
I got to
punted
stare
for
at
the
the
tie.
back of fucking Brandon Walker's fat head all day today.
Oh, you did?
So cocky.
Yeah, you're there. You saw him? You saw B-Walk? He's got to be on cloud 9. They
I like an
broke the
idiot. I
single-
joshed him a little bit
Oh, no.
on Friday going into the
Oh,
weekend.
no.
You didn't know that our team was okay. Well,
How could I have known, Will?
Well, I mean, there was signs. Stingley coming out at the end Friday night when he got sick was really bad. But then the LSU Tigers gave up the singles game record for passing yards.
How do you give up 623 passing yards?
623 yards.
to
You
a
almost gave up
no-name
1,000
quarterback?
yards.
Well, he's not a no-name.
He's a grad transfer. It's a Mike Leach. We got Mike Leach, basically. The
He got
Tigers.
leached.
We got Leach big time.
Leach
Yeah.
is hilarious, by the
Yeah,
way. That one
623
pissed me off
yards.
more. His post game was a fucking funny ass interview too. Which
He's the
turned the
man.
knife.
Mike Leach.
The
I love
Hokies
it.
look good. Go
I
Hokies.
love it. Yeah, go Hokies. I love it for B-Walk. Happy for him. And I'm happy for the SEC because it brings in Mike Leach, a hilarious, now you got Saban, Ed.
You want another
Mike
competitor in the SEC? That's
Well, you
what
want to have great coaching personalities in the league. That makes the college leagues. That's what they're all about. So, I mean, it's great for the
I'm
SEC.
not happy for Brandon Walker. I was
But-
rooting against him, and I wanted him to be in
Well,
misery.
of course.
So, yeah.
Of course, I'd rather see
Yeah.
LSU beat Mississippi State. But, I mean, I am happy that it brings another solid – because now Mississippi State's actually good. They're going to be something to watch.
I'm considering setting this T-shirt on fire after we're done recording it.
Don't blame you.
After the
Go
Eagles
for the
punted.
tie.
punted for the tie.
Is what you need to. We need to make
Meanwhile,
a shirt that says "Go for the tie."
Nick Foles, who won them their only Super Bowl ever, just had an incredible comeback for the Bears, who decided to not start him game one.
Terrible.
And now
Explain
he's
to
the
me
Bears starter.
How the fuck he's on the bench?
Explain to me how the fuck he's on the Bears, Eagles.
Yeah. Didn't he?
Better
So he won a Super Bowl for them, and then they let him go, and then
Yeah.
he came back,
And then won a playoff game for
Both
him.
times, yeah.
and then they let him go.
Let him
Let him
go
go
again.
again. Yeah, and they let him
What's
go again.
wrong with this?
Talk about
Austin,
being
Texas?
disrespected. No,
Yeah.
I don't know.
He
He's
must
got
be an
something
idiot.
going on.
He
Yeah.
must be an idiot.
All right, let's move on. Four quick stories, fellas, before we hit the Yang interview. This first one is about – these are all basically election and SCOTUS updates before we hit that Yang interview. So this first one is about ACB, Amy Coney Barrett, the heavy favorite we talked about last week to replace RBG on the Supreme Court, has been formally nominated on Saturday, and now the process will commence to confirm her to the Supreme Court probably before the election on November 3rd. The confirmation hearings for her begin in the Senate on October 12th, and ACB set the table in her acceptance speech saying that she's mindful of who she'll be replacing, RBG, but that she was also trained most notably by RBG's friend, Antonin Scalia, and that's what people should expect from her and her judgments, despite her being a mom of 7. So it's a surprising, such a conservative justice.
A lot of kids. That's a lot.
Yeah,
of
So
them.
many kids.
A couple of adopted, I believe, not all
Yeah,
biological.
I mean, had I known she adopted some Haitian kids, I would have put all my money on her for the pick.
no
Yeah,
way.
you got to do your research when you're making these bets. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Did
Yeah,
not
She's
know that.
a brilliant legal mind and a working mom. It's going to be very tough, and she's been confirmed before during the Trump administration, so very tough for the Senate to do anything here. A friendly reminder, the Affordable Care Act, the flagship item on the Biden-Harris ticket, is up for review in the Supreme Court on November 10th. A lot of people are saying that's why the rush is on for this. With ACB on the court, the mandate to carry private health insurance is almost certainly going to be deemed unconstitutional, while it's less clear if there's any actual threat to overturning Roe versus Wade, as even ACB has said in the past that, quote unquote, the fundamental element that the woman has a right to choose abortion will probably stand. And so that's in her own words. So that's the Supreme Court update.
Nice.
But she's
Good
getting
job.
through. I mean, she's
Good job, Will. All right, guys. Well, it's that time of the year where celebrities start telling you what to do and who to vote for. Like, hey, pay $19.99 for my new shitty streaming movie and stop eating meat. Don't drive. Don't use gas. Save the environment. That type of shit.
Right.
Well, normally no one cares about what celebrity endorses who or what. But on Sunday, a big one came out and made an endorsement, and I mean a literal big one. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, fresh off bench pressing coronavirus out of his lungs, endorsed
He
Joe
had corona?
Biden. Yeah, but
It doesn't matter that he had corona.
Yeah, exactly.
What a
It didn't-
jabroni Corona is.
Yeah, what an idiot Corona was trying to fuck with The Rock. Like the idiot. That was the one bad move Corona made in 2020 was trying to enter The Rock. But he endorsed Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in his first ever public political endorsement. And that's one that stings Trump. He's probably like, what do you mean The Rock endorsed Biden? Are you saying he's got no head screwed onto those magnificent shoulders? I don't believe it. Get him on the phone. He's a humongous guy. We need guys like him. We need big humongous guys. Get him on the phone.
Oh my God.
Yeah, anybody from the WWE stable is burning.
Oh, that would hurt. That would hurt Trump.
The Rock looks like, I saw the video of him on Twitter. He looks like he's wearing a costume. He's so ridiculous.
It's painted on. His shirt looks painted on.
So insane.
Have
Well,
you
how
seen
does it
his
shrink
his
back
back?
down over his abs? It's crazy.
I don't know how the shirt works.
His
He has
head,
special, he
everything.
has specialty shirts. But have you seen his back? His back muscles are like bigger than anyone's front muscles. It's
He's
just
crazy.
ridiculous. The Rock said, he tried to keep everyone happy because, he's a mega movie star and, Republicans buy sneakers. So he tried to say things like, I have friends on all sides of the political spectrum. You know me. And he's like, I also usually don't do this. But then he came out and said, as a registered independent for years now with centrist ideologies. So he tried to play it down the middle still. He goes, I do feel that Vice President Biden and Senator Harris are the best choice to lead our country. And I'm endorsing them to become president and vice president. So yeah, he released a Zoom call of him and Biden and Harris chatting, because when The Rock says he's going to endorse you, you hop on a fucking Zoom like lickety split. So then it was like them just yucking it up. So my guess after this is Jumanji 3 is going to be picketed or boycotted by the right. Canceling The Rock is like the new thing. Here's some.
The Rock.
That'll hurt him at the box office.
Yeah,
No,
right.
it won't.
No, he's the biggest movie star in the world.
His movies are going to do well in China regardless. So
there you go. Well, taking it to Twitter, Brian Cloudis says, these endorsements are getting more desperate by the minute. I had to Google Dwayne Johnson. And at first I thought,
Okay,
I thought
Brian.
he was trolling, but he
Okay,
wasn't.
Brian.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian.
most
Sorry,
famous
it's
guy
not
in
what
the
you
world,
wanted it to be.
basically. Yeah.
That's just the way it is, Brian.
And then Lee Evan, I like this one. He did a meme, so I'll explain it to you. I don't know if we'll get in the video or not, but it goes, "Can you smell?" And in the background, it's just a picture of Joe Biden smelling a bunch of women's hair, because that's The Rock's catchphrase. Can you smell? That's pretty good.
That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, let's talk about Predicted real quick. Predicted.org/promo/hardfactor20. Get your free $20 on us whenever you sign up. Remember, you got to sign up with $20 in order to get that 20. Don't come with the shitty 10 and expect 20. It's not going to happen. And we got the debates coming out. Are we having any debate markets?
No debate markets
this time.
unfortunately. So we talked a little bit about that actually with Yang. So we talked about that in the interview as well. But we do have the election markets still.
Okay, cool. Did we do a predicted ad in the Yang interview?
You got to stay tuned to see what his surprise.
Why don't we jump to Caliper?
Okay, I'll do
let's talk about Caliper CBD.
Yeah, okay,
so,
go.
You guys ever heard of this thing, Caliper CBD?
Because we do this podcast and we talk about how it's the best fucking CBD powder ever.
Yeah, because it makes you
I
want
take
to
it-
chill.
I take it every night. I take a 20 milligram packet every night.
Right to
I
your
was,
face.
I was
As-
mainlining it all weekend.
Yep.
Just
Saw the spill. That was incredible.
We don't recommend that. Exactly. That's for third level Caliper CBD users. If you're level 1, you might just want to mix it with water. What's great about CBD, guys? It helps make you feel better without making drastic changes in your routine. I drink it before bed. That's what I do. 20 milligrams Caliper, right in my clean canteen. Sip it down. We'll watch.
Oh my God. I got new pillows
anything.
this weekend. It was the best decision of my life.
combine it with Caliper.
Caliper CBD right before sleep on new pillows. I couldn't get out of bed. I was averaging 10 and a half hours a night of sleep.
Also,
God.
guys, if you're working out a lot, Caliper is a great supplement to add post-workout to help make your whole body chill. That's what CBD does.
Oh, get this. I asked people to roast my form on with a kettlebell, and they said, good thing that Caliper CBD is one of our sponsors because I'm going to need it because my form sucks.
Big time. Caliper CBD is clinically proven to be absorbed 450% more than those weird-ass tinctures, so you really can't beat that shit. And also, it's just like 15 minutes to make it work, so it's like less than an Advil. It's quick. It's fast-acting. Twice as fast as CBD oil. Caliper CBD, guys, comes in 30 and 60-count packs. Individual packets give you the benefits wherever you go. And if you use our code,
Yeah, and if you're an Eagles fan, use our code.
you can get 20% off your
Or
first.
Tigers fan.
You can get 20% off your first order, guys. Code is FACTOR, FACTOR, and that's at TriCaliper, CALIPER.com/factor. So that's TriCaliper.com/factor. Promo code FACTOR. Why don't you pop that promo code in there and get 20% off your first order? You'll be glad you did.
Nice.
A little workaround. I think you can get it off your second order too, or your third.
You're saying this is evergreen. Ooh.
Yeah, just you can keep getting that 20% off.
Nice. Good deal there. All right, guys. Joe Biden was caught in another flat out lie. And apparently this kind of thing has plagued Joe in his campaigns of the past. When he ran back in 1987, apparently he stole some phrases from a speech given by Labor Party leader Neil Kinnock and forgot to credit him. Some say that cost him the presidency. Yeah.
Well, he literally couldn't credit him because Neil Kinnock was talking about football as in soccer. And then Biden verbatim used it. And he was like, we'd come out of the mines in Delaware and Pennsylvania and we'd start playing football.
Nope, that was a different one you're thinking of, Patty. He credited, it was like something where he credited, said his wife was the first to go to college and a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, he did
Basically, his memory of what he's done in his life is very hazy.
Me too, though. I'm not throwing stones because me too, boys.
No, I'm not. I'm going to throw stones at the guy that wants to run the country.
Throw stones at the other guy too, Wes.
I will. But right now we're talking about Biden, and he's a liar. He's
the liar.
Well, in this story, he is. So he's kind of known for claiming these things are his, especially speeches that are not. He even claims arrests that aren't his. He once said, quote, "This day, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and entered into discussions about apartheid. I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto, trying to get to see him on the Robben Island." But that was a lie. And this time he was
What
caught.
part of it was a lie?
That he was arrested. He wasn't arrested, Pat.
Wes, you're doing a great job. Keep it up. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, boss.
Almost like we got two car salesmen running for president, huh?
Yeah, right. Hey, they're both fucking liars. I know that. But
Wes, talk about the college incident.
You want to talk about how he lied about going to Delaware State? Yes, sir, boss. So this time he claimed the quote is that he was talking to some kids at Wilson High School in Florence, and he said that he had gotten his start. He's claiming Delaware State is his alma mater, which is a historically black college. Got started out of HBCU, Delaware State. He told the kids. Now, I don't want to hear anything
What does that mean?
What does he mean he got his start?
I got
What did he
started
get? Did he get like a hand job there? Did he go to school there? What does he mean he got his start?
He didn't get any start there. He just he drove past it a couple times.
He's seen it
there.
Yeah.
As soon as he drove past it, he got started, baby.
Right. But the college said that Biden is a lying dog-faced pony soldier when it comes to that claim. Actually, the college's
Great burn.
Thank you, boss. The director of news service said Vice President Biden did not attend Delaware State. In fact, he only gave a commencement speech there in 2003, I think, 2016.
I mean, he has a degree from there, so you can
he was awarded
confused.
He was awarded an honorary doctoral degree. Yes, Pat.
Well, if you're
Maybe
Biden and you're looking at your
speech,
wall, you're going to see your degrees.
Maybe that's it. He got confused.
Maybe
Time
it did
gets-
go
time
there.
gets-
I must
fuzzy,
have gotten
Jack.
my start.
Yeah.
I must have gotten my start here.
Well, you know what? I didn't go to that college.
I don't remember getting this degree, so it must have been way back when I got my start.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, he's got in some hot water for that, and
No shit. Well,
Yeah.
what? Like,
Yeah.
look, it's the most like obviously false brag. Like
Right.
he didn't start off at a historically black college.
That's like lying on your resume, and you're gonna get caught, and there's repercussions when you do that. You can't do that.
But it's just so unbelievable in the first place. Why is he even trying to make that claim?
I have no idea.
What is he, like one of 5 white, guys that went there?
Yeah.
Like,
who was the guy he had to fight with the chain at the pool? It was me. And, me and Tino. Like,
There's got to be some stats they've gone over where if he lies about something and it gets him this many points, that the fallout will only take away this many points
on both sides though. That's got to exist. The envelope pushing.
The debates are going to be fucking wild.
The debates
incredible.
so electric. Oh.
We're going to be live
tomorrow night.
Live streaming before and after, and we're going to get cousin Mike Portnoy on after. Ooh.
Amazing.
All right, guys. Donald Trump, a man who very much believes in fair play at all times. He's a man of rules and he's a man of law, is demanding that Joe Biden take a drug test before tomorrow's debate, saying that he will take one as well. He tweeted out, "I will be strongly demanding a drug test of Sleepy Joe Biden prior to or after the debate on Tuesday night. Naturally, I will agree to take one also." His debate performances
in front of a camera too.
What does he think he's on? Does he think he's on amphetamines?
He said his debate performances have been record-setting, uneven, to put it mildly. I don't know that we keep
in
records
terms
on
of
that.
how much he talks. Maybe I don't know.
Only drugs could have caused this discrepancy. So the question is he actually scared? Why is he at? Because Trump's definitely on something. He can't drink a glass of water with one hand.
I really want to see a call out during the debate of why didn't you take the drug test?
It's gonna happen. He's tweeting it so much. It's definitely gonna happen. Yeah,
that would be good.
I
hope Biden brings up the Rock thing. That'll piss him. I hope they really.
Yeah, the Rock. Well, I've got all the WWE behind me.
We'll see.
I'll challenge you to a push-up contest right now. I'm hoping for a push-up contest.
A push-up contest would be great, 'cause
sure.
Trump couldn't refuse it. Technically, he would look real soft if he refused it.
Well, right. That should be Biden's counter to the drug test.
And that's really where we've gotten to.
Contest.
That's where we've gotten to in this political climate in our country right now.
Push-up contest.
It's straight up one candidate
push-up contest
could win the election by challenging the other one to a push-up contest.
Oh, that would swing undecided people big time.
Sway some people. Well, I got to see his form here. See if Trump
Welcome to America, new immigrants. Welcome to America, guys. Trump told Laura Ingraham not too long ago in an interview he's on some kind of enhancement, in my opinion, talking about Biden. And Laura Ingraham was like, "Is it like athletes? Like, what are you talking about?" So that's, I don't know why Trump's doing.
That Joe Biden, he's so goddamn electric. He must be on something.
Right. How long does it take for Adderall to get out of your system? I'm sure Trump's Googled that.
Not long. It's 3 days, I think. 2 to 3 days, yeah.
So he could go without it for 3 days. All right, guys. So that's the end of the first half of the show, the first part of the show. We're going to get into a very exciting interview with our boy, Andrew Yang from the Yang Gang. Interesting American, has some cool ideas. He's just come on to Joe Biden's Small Business Council. So let's take it over to that shit.
Make sure you tune into YouTube to see Pat's outfit, too.
All right. Thank you for joining Hard Factor. Former Democratic presidential candidate, current entrepreneur, and new member of the Biden campaign team, Andrew Yang. Andrew, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. You all look so cool and relaxed, and yet
the Yang Gang.
Yes, the Yang Gang. That's what I'm talking about.
Pat, the Beeve, you notice his Yang Gang attire. He was a hardcore member of the Yang Gang when it was kicking. So Pat, tell Andrew what's going on there.
Boss, I've been out there just slanging and banging in the streets, teaching people science, technology, engineering, and math. We're leaderless right now, though, boss. You know, like the gangs, we're out here. We're still out here, man. Where you at, boss, Dad?
Thank you, Pat, for doing the work and for sporting Yang Gang colors.
You gotta be tough.
So confidently. It's great. I'm still here, still working. You know, it's like the battleground changes. So I ran for president and ended up getting out after I didn't get quite enough votes in a couple of the early
Did
states.
someone jump you out?
No, it was an interesting process, man. So so Iowa happens, then New Hampshire is voting, and my team sits me down and is like, all right, here are the numbers, you're the math guy. Like, what's the plan? What are we going to do? And then we drew it out, and I said, look, if I don't get past a certain threshold in New Hampshire, then yeah, like we should really look at it. And then when I didn't get that threshold, I was like, well, I said, like I said the numbers were going to speak. So then we had to take a very hard look. And it was difficult, Pat, because there's so much love on the campaign trail. It's, if you were to put it in sports context, it's almost like you've got all these people that want you to do well. And so turning around and saying that this is not our time was a very, very hard
The season's
decision.
canceled, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, but because and I said to the team when we were talking about this, I was like, my entire thing is like I'm the scrappy, hardworking entrepreneur. Like I was just gonna keep campaigning until the last dog died, and no one really was paying any attention to me in the beginning. So I kind of expected to be campaigning in the dark at the end too. I thought I'd go full circle and just be like, out there and some state and like well past my like whatever.
Well, you ended up following a different route though. Yeah.
You did pretty well though. I'd say we're gonna call it 4th or 5th place. Like you did pretty well, I think. What can you give us a little inside baseball in terms of like how many people were working on the campaign? Like
my campaign had something like 250 people working on it down the stretch that were actually full time on the campaign, and then the number of volunteers
2 million strong in the Yang Gang, baby, at least.
Yeah, it was hundreds of thousands.
Wow.
And there were hundreds, maybe thousands of people who were not paid by the campaign who just relocated to New Hampshire and knocked on doors and canvassed. And so going to these places and seeing volunteers who dropped everything in their day-to-day lives to go to Iowa in the winter to knock on doors, you're just like so
it's cold.
touched and blown away that you're like, I'm gonna like mad for you because you're fighting your hearts out.
What does that feel like? Do you get like a big head? Is it like
I was blown away every single time. And it's funny because I ran president, but I was still kind of surprised when people were happy to see me. So I'm like a fairly normal dude, and so like
that's a good reaction, I think, to have,
that.
right?
Yeah.
So that reaction never changed really. Anytime I went someplace and there was someone who was volunteering for me, I was always so grateful.
Well, boss,
Nice.
I got to ask you. So it seems like the deck was stacked against us in some respects, and it seems like the DNC made their choice of who they wanted to be president. It's kind of a 2-part question, but mainly, like, what happened? Is there any inside baseball what happened there? Because it was frustrating for the Yang Gang to see you kind of forced out, same deal with Bernie, and then B, to go to CNN and not continue to lead the gang, and your ideas are so progressive. So what happened behind the scenes at the DNC? Do you have any insight?
There are a lot of institutions that kind of naturally end up working together, and it's a real issue for us in terms of getting our government to listen to us. And I ran for president and learned a lot, some of it not that good, about
how it works.
About the process. And you're like, okay, like that. I think I should be on that graphic, and for some reason I'm not. Like, that's odd. And and then the first time you blow it off as a mistake, and then by the 8th time you're like, all right, there's something really odd.
Yeah.
Like, imagine in a sporting context if you had reported the Atlantic Division standings and then you decided to forget about a team.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
That's not right.
There are a few Barstool graphics we're left out of. Don't worry, we understand.
Did anyone call you in the middle of the night and you're like, Andrew, you're getting a little too big for your britches there. You might want to step off a little bit. Does anything like that happen?
From the DNC?
The DNC,
This fun quote on the trail, which is like, it's all fun and games until Andrew Yang passes you in the polls. I was the Grim Reaper of candidates, where
those were great tweets,
up on you and passed you, then all of a sudden things went south for that candidate.
Well, look, your big thing, that was radical, was UBI, right? I think you changed the terminology maybe at some point, but it doesn't look that radical now. Do you think you would have done better in the current climate than you did 9 months ago with that running for that platform of everyone should get, what was it, $1,000 a month?
Well, right now, 55% of Americans agree that we should have basic income for everyone, where everyone's getting a certain amount of money. I campaign on $1,000 a month. Here during the pandemic, some members of Congress are proposing higher levels than that, $2,000 a month, which I'm all for. The real problem I'm seeing now is that you can have 55% of Americans for universal basic income, which is true right now, and let's say 76% Americans were for cash relief during a pandemic, also true right now. I mean, it's common sense. Everyone's looking around being like, well, you know, the literal bartenders don't have the kind of jobs that they had a number of months ago, or the security guards, or the airline attendants, or the hairstylists, or the personal trainers. Like, you just go on and on down the list. It's common sense. So everyone knows that we should be sending cash to people. But at this point, what the people know and want and what our government does are two different things. And that's one of the major sources of frustration that we're all feeling, which is like, okay, number one was getting everyone to agree on it, but then number two is getting our government to act on it. And it seems like the second part may be harder than the first.
Why is that? Why is that? Because aren't they elected for the people, by the people? Like, why is that? Is it because of the super PACs, the big defense contractors? Like, why is that?
So here are a couple numbers. This is fun. This really is a little bit like sports. So the satisfaction rate with Congress and how they're doing right now is 21%. That's very, very low.
Yeah.
The re-election rate for incumbent members of Congress is 94%. Now, very, very different numbers. So then you look and say, why is it that incumbents win all the time? And incumbents win in large part because they start out with what's called $1 million cash advantage. And the average successful
Campaign ads and
congressional
name
candidate
recognition.
Oh, it's like poker.
has- and name
Big stack beats small stack. It's like poker.
Yes. And so the average successful congressional campaign raises $1.6 million. For the Senate, it's $10.4 million. So you have to ask yourself, what kind of human being in America is going to be able to raise seven figures for a race? It's a very, very small list of people. They tend to be, frankly, kind of rich themselves, or like know a lot of rich people to begin with. And so you have an incumbency advantage that is so high that I'm more concerned about pissing off folks who are very, very extreme within my base than I am general public's opinion of me. Because, you know, I've got a party primary, I've got $1 million in cash, I've got a 94% win rate. And so I'm better served by standing on my side saying it's their fault than I am in compromising.
Go
and
with the
getting stuff done
machine,
for
right?
American
The
people.
big companies, basically, the two parties.
Can you
right?
name one politician on either side that hasn't done what you just said?
There are a group of congressmen right now that are pushing for cash relief. They call themselves the Problem Solvers Caucus. There are about 40 of them. Tim Ryan from Ohio is one of them. One of the good ones. Ro Khanna in California is another good one, where they're just trying to get work done on behalf of the American people. And you have party leadership that's standing and saying it's the other side's fault. And then you have several, that's how bad it is right now, that several dozen members of Congress said, like, look, party leadership aside, here's a compromise bill. We should vote on that. And they have the right idea. We should be voting on that bill.
Yeah, let's try to actually do good things. So,
Thanks.
like, back to the UBI portion of it, Andrew. I mean, a lot of us pretty much all of us have worked in the service industry or as delivery drivers at some point in our careers. My question for you is, you know, how long do you think until those types of jobs are just totally done by robots? And then at that point, where are Americans going to work? I know you've talked about a human-centered economy, what we need to move towards. I just want to hear your thoughts, you know, as the guy who sort of innovated the UBI concept. You know, where do you see it going in terms of the actual industries going away, and where will people be working, and you know, and that type of thing?
It's happening right now, where right now we've gone through 10 years worth of change in the economy in 10 weeks. And you can all see it, where if you go into the grocery store, the self-checkout line is everywhere, and you welcome it as a good thing because it means you had less
I don't use it.
contact.
I don't use it on purpose because I'm not giving them that.
I worked on that software. I'm part of the problem. Oof.
Well, it's, and at this point, you know, half of companies have said during the pandemic they're ramping up their investments in automation, everything from Tyson Foods, the meatpacking processing plant, because meatpacking
Right,
workers are
coronavirus
sick.
sped it up. Yeah.
Sped it up enormously. So if you look at a lot of these service jobs, they're getting displaced right and left. You have at least 11 million Americans who lost their jobs during this pandemic, and 42% of those jobs are projected never to come back. So you're seeing this transformation right now. It's not speculative. It's 2020. And the question is, how quickly can our government actually start to make the big changes that we would need? And the answer is very discouraging because they can't even get the basics done, like get cash out to people during the pandemic, much less try and humanize the economy on a higher scale. I am obviously for Joe and Kamala, and I think that we have a better chance of making these changes with them in office.
Sure.
But the changes need to be significant, and the timeline has been accelerated by this pandemic.
Do you think I could start applying for jobs as a robot and trick people into thinking I'm like a robot soon? Because I can work on my robot skills.
We all need to work on our robot skills, unfortunately.
All right,
Andrew, can we attack these robots, or like, is there any update? I know you worked in the tech sector. Is there any update on a time machine to go back and do a T2 like situation, take out Skynet or send back Kyle Reese?
Yeah, and the question is, who's the target? Like, who are you?
Al Gore invented the internet.
Yeah, start with Gore maybe. But
yeah, Gore was the problem.
In all seriousness, Andrew, do you find it frustrating? Like, why do you think it's so hard for the people that are going to need UBI the most to that they find it so challenging to even entertain the idea? Like, is that like, what do you have to say about that?
Again, 55% of Americans are for it at this point because it is common sense. But right now, we're getting polarized by certain messages and appeals that gin up enthusiasm and engagement for certain media companies, certain social media companies, and they're distractions from the things that we can actually do that would improve our way of life. It's just people make more ad dollars and more money off of trying to us against each other.
Right. When I heard your economic plan for president, I thought, wow, this is the most essentially appealing economic plan to the conservatives that I heard coming out of any Democratic candidate, right? So, that's when I did the research on your plan. And then what I saw on social media and what I saw through news media was, we're going to give free money away. Where's that going to end us up? It was really frustrating. And I wonder how you combated that in your campaign, or tried to, or if it was just a losing battle.
I found that the message actually crossed over pretty well, Pat. And like you said, a lot of conservatives looked at it and said, like, I'm on board with this. And a lot of conservatives, what they really dislike is government bureaucracy making your decisions for you. They do not mind the idea of people having more autonomy and agency, more ability to support businesses and start businesses. What I'd say to folks is like, look, this is capitalism where income doesn't start at zero. And there were a lot of conservatives who would hear that and nod and say, that makes sense, because, they like people being able to make more choices. And that's why I named it the freedom dividend also.
That's a good description.
Clever, smart guy.
Yeah. Well, I loved trickle up economy. That was just a brain teaser right there. That was good.
Yeah, trickle up. This trickle down bullshit hasn't worked.
Yeah, get that shit out of here. Let's trickle up, bro. Drive the wrong way down the highway until that's what I'm saying.
Those are all some good catchphrases for it. I like
but seriously, Andrew, robots, they're coming, right? Like, can you?
Oh yeah, they're here. And when you say robots too, so here's like the misconception folks have is that it's not like you're gonna be in your studio and then this walking, talking robot is going to come into your studio and being like, hello, I'm here to do your job. Like, that's not the way this stuff goes down. But the way this stuff goes down is that Google makes an announcement and says, hey, guess what? We can now do call center work for you. And all you have to do is like hit the button. It's like Amazon Web Services, but for call centers. Doesn't that sound great? And if you're a business owner, you're like, that does sound pretty great. But if you're one of the 2+ million Americans who works at a call center right now, then you're like, oh, wait a minute. where does that leave me?
That's crazy.
Unemployed. Yeah.
All the tellers, call center clerks. I mean, it's crazy.
And that's real. I didn't make that up. Like they made that announcement the other week. And so So that's what the robots look like in the work context.
Software
It's
robots,
AI, it's
basically.
software.
Yeah.
It's it's Google and
AI
the
is a
folks
better term.
Right, AI is a better term. We
But
like robots.
we
here
we
'cause-
like to joke around because it's robots. But the drones. What about all the drone deliveries? How illegal is it to shoot a drone out of the sky if you want your delivery job to stick around? Like, are you allowed to get a giant broom and smash these drones that Walmart and Amazon are sending to your house?
Well, it is robots in some contexts. When I talk about like the meat packing factories, those are robots. And then you
Right.
have drones. The drone delivery stuff is still just in the them piloting phase, them messing around.
So we can shoot those. We can shoot those out of the sky then. The ones in the piloting phase.
Oh, I'm sure if you did, then someone from Amazon would be knocking on your door, being like, why are you so mean to our drone? Like,
Yeah.
you now owe us $8,000.
Yeah, it'd be
They
pretty
took our
expensive.
jobs, Andrew.
You've seen the robots though. Like the Boston Dynamics robots. They're like jumping boxes, doing backflips. What are they doing with those, Andrew? What are they going to do with those?
It's like we all saw Black Mirror. We know what they're gonna do with the robot dogs. But right now, if you go to the factory, like the robots that are really useful in a factory are just like a set of hands or like digits or things that you can actually just get to do something and then they'll do it repetitively.
Yeah.
So if you're in a factory, like they're using those kinds of robots more than they are like the robot dog. The backflipping dog is very interesting. I have seen a use case for it in Singapore where the robot dog walks around and tells people to stay away from each other.
Yeah.
like the social distancing enforcement.
The parks.
They
Yeah.
just come up
Right.
and say in a British accent, it's like 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. But it's coming out of this dystopian robot dog, like that British voice.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you'll
just a matter
listen
of
to it.
time too till the sex robots take over the sex industry too. I mean, like you don't talk. I know you haven't. You talk most about trucking and call centers, but it's going to be the sex industry is done once these robots come out.
It's every industry except for developing and maintaining the robots.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
everybody. Everybody's
Oil
gonna be
men.
a robot maintenance man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the rough part is that a lot of the most resilient jobs were the jobs that required human proximity. Like you're not going to have like a robot hairdresser like anytime soon. Like that stuff is like there are a lot of like up close jobs that it just make much more sense for a human to do.
Oh, good.
The problem is that COVID has made a lot of those jobs more precarious and
Right.
less
Yeah,
sustained.
because you have to have the barriers and whatnot. We need to be
so
united
that's
for sure.
That's the devastating part is like the jobs that you could count on are the jobs that are getting disrupted by the pandemic.
So double whammy in 2020.
Going back to you were talking about forces that divide us, right? So now that you're working on the Biden campaign team, some changes have happened in China since the Obama administration was there. So Xi is now president for life. Obviously, there was the coronavirus, news about the treatment of the Uyghur population and other
Hong
things,
Kong.
Right, Hong Kong, Hunter Biden's recent stuff. So, like Russia, China is a nation who's out there sort of openly trying to influence everything in the world. And so how do you, deal with them on the Biden team, when China, openly sort of appears to be backing you guys? Sort of like how Russia does with the Trump team, it seems like.
I've seen mixed things about who China's backing. I thought that they were backing Trump because they think that that's better for their competitive position relative to us.
I had just seen the report from the director of national intelligence last week that was talking about sort of China and Iran saying that, being on the side of wanting the Biden campaign to succeed and Russia being on the side of Trump. Regardless, we know they spend money on influencing elections. And so sort of, how do you see them if they're not supporting the Biden team, then how do you see dealing with them as part of the administration?
A couple of issues. Number one is foreign interference in our elections needs to stop. And the fact is the Trump administration is essentially turning a blind eye, being like, who knows that the Russians helped? And it's clear that foreign governments are having a field day through our social media channels, misinforming us, turning us against each other, you know, trending things that just make us more pissed off and like, you know, mentally like
Exhausted.
exhausted.
games.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah.
I was going to say mentally challenged, but then that sounded like something else. So at this point, we probably are all mentally challenged.
sure.
So number one, there's this massive vulnerability that foreign countries are taking advantage of that we need to shore up. It's hard to shore up on a technical side because it's much easier just to make fake accounts on social media than it is to police it. So this is where having different levers to pull where relationships are concerned would be very positive. Like the more levers you have, the better off you are. And that goes to the second point, which is how the heck do you try and manage the U.S.-China relationship moving forward, given that tensions have been rising for years now. And from my sense of what's gone on inside of China, they started out thinking like, what's going on? Like, why is America so like aggressive on various fronts? But now it's flipped to the point where they're actually very happy to fan anti-American sentiment within the country in a way that was not true before. And on the sports front, I mean, the NBA ended up being like the flashpoint for this, where you know, it's like if you rewound not that long ago, Chinese are enormous NBA fans. These folks were like as big Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson fans as like existed in the world. And then now some people regard the NBA as like, oh, this like you know, American institution, and we don't like it as much. So there's a lot of conflict tension, but there also are things that we need to try and cooperate with China on. Like climate change would be number one on the list.
I mean, like with
AI
everybody,
and
right? Like we need to be sort of united. I mean, obviously, as a country, we can't be divided by, you know, foreign interests, but we also need to be united with our global partners, right? I mean,
climate
it seems
change
like
is a perfect
everything's
example.
on its head, you know.
But if everyone's not on board in climate change, what's the, you know, it doesn't really work, right? So that makes sense. Yeah.
Or future pandemics,
Right,
because
right.
you know, it's like you got to say this may not be the last one, and
Right.
so like if you don't coordinate with China, which you know, was the source of this one, you know, geographically, and so like you know, if you have better contacts, then maybe you can get ahead of the next one. AI treatment of data, enormous international issue moving forward. The goal would be to try and create standards for how AI gets used that are globally the same way that we had the WTO, that the World Trade Organization, that China actually did modify their behavior because they wanted access, they really wanted to join. If you could get to a point where you had a World Data Organization and China felt like, okay, we really need to play ball here. So these are the levers you're talking about, where just saying like, oh, we're not going to talk to this country anymore, like doesn't work in the 21st century when you have these big problems that require countries to cooperate or at least communicate.
It's like sharing custody of a kid. You know, like you break up with a girl and you don't have a kid, you're like, I'm not talking to her again ever. But then you have a kid with them, like as Wes will tell
Like
you.
the globe, right? The globe is all of our kid, right?
Yes.
Is that
The globe is all of our kid.
Yeah, that makes
where
sense.
Sometimes, yeah.
Totally.
Where you all are geographically, but I mean, you know, climate change is freaking ravaging like so many of our communities. 3.5 million acres got burnt up during this set of wildfires, and that's born of climate change. Like this stuff is real. It's happening right now. All of the stuff that you hoped was like a little bit further down the road, it's here and now.
Isn't it just? Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say, isn't it just easier to be mean to everyone though and divided, and then
it's someone else's
easier.
fault. Let's just throw rocks at them. And, you know, then I'm sure the fires will be will be less harsh next year because I got mad at someone on Twitter.
Yeah,
I'll punch him.
Going back to the pandemic, you know, if Biden is elected and, you know, takes office in January, what are some of the things that he's going to do differently? Like some of the restrictions, some of the, you know, maybe laws about, you know, protecting the people if the pandemic is still going on, different than what Trump is doing?
Well, we'd have a national approach. And one of the things that has infuriated me is that when it came to getting PPE out to communities, there was essentially a free-for-all. And I know this because I was talking to various communities that were trying to get their hands on PPE, hospitals. Now it's school districts. And you had a competition because there was a limited supply, and the feds, instead of organizing distribution, they actually competed with the states. So you had rich states competing with poor states, competing with the feds. It was just a total like a total shit show, honestly. Like there was no
all the fraud claims coming out of it, you can see. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then you had certain companies being like, hey, we've got your PP, and just freaking upcharging you know, guy.
I thought about committing fraud there. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think it crossed a few people's minds, but
So you'd have at least a national approach where you say, okay, like here are the guidelines, here's what we're going to do. Instead of having this like competitive free for all, we're going to try and prioritize. You'd have uniform guidance instead of like an administration that sends mixed messages on any day.
Yeah.
And these things would help. The big thing really is a resource allocation, where if you have a school district and you say, hey, try and reopen, but guess what? We're not going to get. I mean, I just saw a story that said something like 83% of teachers had to buy their own PPE because they were going into class and they were like, well, I guess I need a mask or a face shield or something like something on my desk, like in order to feel safe in my classroom. And we didn't provide that. I mean, what the heck is going on there? Where like if you're going to reopen a school, like freaking at least get some supplies in the door.
yeah.
you'd think. Before we let you go, Andrew, we had some questions for you about a predicted market, a prediction market. But Mark, you'd heard something?
Well, yeah. First of all, wanted to go back to the Yang Gang. They were probably the most. They were probably the most. I don't want to say crazy, but most energetic group. Because whenever we would say nice things about you, we would hear about it, and whenever we would criticize you, we would hear about it. And one of the things we criticized you for was you weren't assertive enough in the debates, in our opinion. And
Speaking time.
the
A
answer
lot
was,
of money on you, Andrew. A lot of cash.
we would bet on you and predicted to not have the least amount of speaking time. And then we would oftentimes
Well, no,
lose.
I knew that
Well,
you
I
were
did.
concise in
Yeah.
your words, and so I
Yeah.
knew you would always speak the least but be powerful in what you said. So I was happy with.
I had to
with
take
the
out a
amount
new
that you
credit
spoke.
card, Andrew.
Right.
Well, thank you for believing in me and to put your hard-earned cash on the prediction market.
Well, technically, it's
on my
Chase's money,
behalf.
but
yeah.
You know, like there were times when I saw the prediction markets and I was like, I can affect that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, maybe there should be a little bit of self-dealing here, a little bit of like.
What about the tweet markets? Like
Yeah.
that was a big one for you. You were star of Predicted for a couple of months with the tweet markets.
Who'd you get to sign up for your account on that?
Yeah, that one I could easily have gamed. I saw that shit. I was like, oh.
yeah.
But you know, I'm a man of integrity, and so I
Okay,
guess
cool.
that,
So there's
ignore
no
that
there's
thing.
no
There's no
your entry
controversy.
was-
There's no controversy with you in Predicted.
There is not that I know of. I certainly appreciated all the activity, and there were times on the trail I cited it where because there was a period when I'd be talking to audiences in Iowa, New Hampshire, and there was a degree of skepticism about whether I could contend. I was like, I don't know, prediction markets have me.
You were always in the top three.
Pretty well.
Yeah,
You know, that's a smart money. Like you guys
It
need
is.
to pay attention.
That's right.
They say it's better than the polls. The prediction markets.
Yeah, go to predictit.org/promo/hardfactor20. That unique URL will get you your first $20 matched on us in the stock market of politics. And Andrew, I think we all have a couple questions for you about predictions, but mine is give us one state where you think Joe Biden has a better chance to win than the pundits do.
The potential political earthquake in 2020 is the great state of Texas. That it genuinely seems like it's competitive, and if that goes to Biden, then obviously it's game over. Not just in 2020, but that would actually change things moving forward. And
So you think this could be the one? This could be the time. It's a bold claim, but we'll see.
Is it because all those Californians moving to Texas?
We're all Texas boys, or live there, except for Willie's in Reno, Nevada right now. But I've been driving around Texas a lot of Trump signs up, so it's tough to tell.
But I see a lot of Biden signs too when I go on my little walks and jogs.
And that's why it's kind of a bold prediction. But if you look at the numbers, like Dems have gotten closer, and I genuinely think this is going to wind up looking like a change election, where 72% of Americans think this is the worst time ever that we've ever lived. And so that's a terrible number for an incumbent. And I talked to many people who voted for Donald Trump in 2016 who are like, this is not this is not the bargain I was hoping for. You know,
Is
like,
it is it is it
That's
is
a
it they're
bad
saying
stat,
is it they're
72.
saying it's the worst time we've ever lived because all of the old people died from coronavirus? Because they can't those people would probably remember a slightly worse time, but it is a bad time.
Yeah, and no one can remember it. And I thought about it too. I was like, what time has anyone lived that would be comparable?
We heard 68. 68 was bad.
Well,
That was
we got
Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy assassinations, the Vietnam
had-
War, Richard
we had
Nixon.
plumbing
Yeah,
and
that was-
toilets.
exactly. And how many of us were alive?
Not many, yeah.
In 68?
Depression,
So,
yeah.
like, I mean, a lot of people, obviously, but that proportion is not a majority anymore.
I'm just glad we don't have to shit in holes. So I'm just putting that out there. Andrew, you got
Sure.
named. So you just joined the Biden team on the Small Business Advisory Council. Is that correct?
Yeah, small business and entrepreneurship, which is a topic that's near and dear to my heart because I love small businesses. They're going to be vital for any comeback, and right now they're just suffering at such a massive scale right now. I just want to do anything I can to help.
Yeah. Can you give us a sense of like what exactly that job will entail and what your plans are?
My job right now is to make the case to small business owners that Joe and Kamala would be better for you. And I feel for small business owners, and I also feel for the sense that like a lot of them don't think that Democrats really get them. And it's something that I want to help with. In terms of what Joe and Kamala want to do for small business owners, it's send tens of billions of dollars in like a better designed PPP type program that actually reaches small business owners that were excluded the first time around. And I very much believe in that because you should not need like a great commercial banking relationship to get access to relief. There are a lot of food truck operators and mom and pops that probably did not have that.
Andrew, when's this going to happen? When's this going to be legalized federally?
First, we got to win, and so they're saying they want it right now, but obviously Congress can't even get basic stuff.
They just
done.
punted the vote. Yeah. So.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a weed vote, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, they punted on the weed vote, which obviously, you know, like that's another thing. Majority of Americans want to legalize weed. Like I want to legalize weed.
Hell yeah!
At this point, DC, they actually came up with a strain of weed for me, Yang Ganja. You can check it
Yang
out.
Ganja.
Oh, nice.
My God,
Did you
I need to
hit
get my
it?
hands on that.
Yang Ganja.
Did you smoke it?
You know, I haven't. They were like freaking coming up with it like while I was campaigning, so I didn't even.
One day we'll
I'm gonna
we'll
find
smoke
it.
some we'll smoke some
Yeah,
with
we
you
got to
one day.
find you and get you a Yang Ganja joint.
So hopefully as soon as we can turn the page and get new members of Congress, because this is like the opportunity, and a lot of the way Washington works is when there's like a new administration in town and like a new majority, like then you maybe can get some big things done, and that's our best hope, unfortunately, is trying to get big things done in early 2021.
Yeah, we had a pretty
I mean, we shouldn't give up hope. Like, we should be pressuring Congress to do it.
No,
right now,
Andrew, we had
like, you know, we can all see it.
We had Representative Ken Buck on the show a couple weeks ago from Colorado, and he was straight up like, "Yeah, nothing's going to happen until after the election." Like,
Yeah, he was honest with us, and he was
bullshit.
right.
It's total
Yeah,
bullshit.
and even after I've been watching congressional updates this week, and you know, even after that push of, oh hey, let's get it done, it was all lip service. It's not gonna get done.
No stimulus, no police reform, no nothing for serious until after the election.
So you're right. I mean, maybe new people who don't have the lead in their pants would be able to get some of this stuff actually passed.
Andrew, what do
And
you
now-
think?
And then I'm going to turn towards trying to help modernize our government. So I think we should have term limits for members of Congress. I think we need public campaign finance reform. I think we need ranked choice voting would open up a lot of these races so that no one ever gets bullied for like wasting your vote or any of that stuff. Like we need some process changes if our government's going to start.
What do you
listening
think
to us.
about these two big ones: term limits and campaign finance reform?
I think we need term limits in DC, and 76% of Americans agree that sending people to DC should mean they come home and they don't just stay there forever, which is presently the case.
I think 24% of people check the wrong box.
And when I went around the country and I said, like, you know, we need term limits, like everyone would be like, heck yes. Like no one thinks this is working right now. You have leadership that got elected in the like 90s or 80s. And you know, like they've been in DC for decades at this point. Like you just got to turn it over and get some fresh points of view in there and some bias towards action. Because if you've been there forever, then you know you can just chill out. Like
You're numb to it too.
Yeah.
You need people who can go in and be like, look, I need to get something done, and then I'm going to go home, and then I'm going to answer to people because I'm actually going to go live there again.
Yeah,
Andrew,
and if you had term limits, maybe campaign finance wouldn't be as big of a deal as it is now with the numbers we went over at the top with the incumbency advantage and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was proposing $100 democracy dollars for every voter, where you can just give $100, and then it makes us all into investors. Like predict it. Reason why
Right,
we all love that
yeah,
is because we
that's
all
good.
think, like that we can kind of see what's going on, and we're willing to put our money where our mouth is. If you make every voter like an investor, then like they actually feel included. Then they'd be like, okay, I like this person, I'll listen to them, I'm going to give them $25. Like that would be a game changer. It would get, right now, something like 10% of Americans contribute to any political campaign under the sun, and the real number is lower than that, because anything above $200 is like 1%.
Right.
So no one's giving money. So all the politicians are just answering to a very, very narrow band of humans who tend to be quite
Executives,
rich, or corporate interests.
Yeah.
And so if you put money into voters' hands, then you actually might get legislators listening to us.
Andrew, what do you think about the big news right now is that the Trump quote that he might not leave office peacefully if he's not, if he doesn't get elected again. Is the Yang Gang gonna roll in there and remove him forcefully if that happens? What's gonna happen there?
I hope it doesn't come to that. Really, I'm going to stick to let's cross that bridge when we get to it. I believe that the folks in the military would be all for like a peaceful transition and enforcement of what the election results were, and that's where the rubber hits the road.
I mean, you still have to have the outcome, but I think he would leave. I think that's just lip service. But more importantly and more likely, what do you think the date will be that we find out who won the election? You think it'll?
That's the tough one.
That's a tough one, right?
I don't think it's going to be November 3rd, unfortunately.
I don't either.
So settle in.
Yeah.
Like someone said, instead of thinking of it as election day, we should think of it as election month.
Yeah.
And that can be also before election day too, because a lot of places are allowing for mail-in voting or early voting. So start thinking about this right now. Like check your voter registration at iwillvote.com, and make sure you're registered, get your ballot in, and then you don't have to worry about it. The other thing is if you get your vote in earlier, then you can give other people a hard time being like, I voted, have you?
Yeah, guilt.
That's true.
yeah.
We're doing a live we're doing a live election coverage, and we might be working for like 300 hours straight.
We just might be streaming for a month straight until we find
So
out.
will you be? I'm sure they'll have you on CNN too. So, Andrew, I think can we leave with this or end with this? What should members of the gang be doing, boss? Now that you are working on the Biden campaign, like what should the gang be doing? What's the directive for the gang? Orders, really, is what I like to call them.
Well, first, thank you for being in my corner from day one, Pat, and anyone else who's in the Yang Gang. Appreciate and love you all. I'm still fighting for the same things. It's just the fight looks a little different. So for me right now, I'm distributing economic relief straight to the American people. We're up to $8 million and counting through the 1K project, my organization, Humanity Forward.
How do we enter that? How do we get our hat in the sweepstakes?
If you go to either movehumanityforward.com or 1kproject.org, you can nominate a family, you can submit yourself. So I try and walk the walk, Pat. Honestly, it's like we talked about things. Like I was like, hey, we should give money to everyone. It's like now, thanks to the Yang Gang and others, like I can actually do that. So we're up to 8 million and counting for people. I've endorsed a couple dozen down ballot candidates who are standing for the same vision that I ran on around humanizing the economy, universal basic income, trying to bring people together. So get behind those candidates in Texas, like in Ohio, like around the country. We're endorsing folks that can help move the needle forward. I have my own podcast, Yang Speaks, where we bring on people that we can help educate about universal basic income, our vision for the country. So I'm still leading the gang. The leadership, hopefully everyone feels like I'm still fighting. It looks different because I ran for president and then the campaign did not succeed on that level. but I'm an adaptable, persistent guy, and I'm just like turning my eyes towards different goals. The fact that 55% of Americans are now for universal basic income, that's us. That was the Yang Gang.
Hell yeah,
Now the
boss.
and now the question is, how can you get our government to a point where they'll listen to us and pass that policy? So that's where my attention is now. But we're just going to keep fighting until we win this thing. We're going to eradicate poverty in this country. It's totally unnecessary. We're going to humanize the economy so that people will have a fighting chance, even if the robots come for their jobs or the pandemic did away with their job. And
Is this it? Are you announcing?
This is it.
Are you announcing your 2024 run for president right now in Heart Factor? Is this it?
I'm announcing that I am not going anywhere, and I'm just going to keep on doing whatever I can to push
2024
forward. So we're just going to keep on evolving, adapting, growing. I'll tell you, the Yang Gang is getting bigger by the numbers all the time, because I can't tell you how many people reached out to us over the last number of weeks and were like, yo, I was skeptical, but now I see that you were right. We need this. How do we get it done?
There you go. And we're gonna dub it in if you don't say it. You running for 2024?
You could use that AI, man. You could do the
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, we'll deep fake you, boss.
Deep fake it. Don't worry.
Run
Don't worry.
for president in 2024.
There it is.
Hell yeah, boss.
Whatever it is.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for taking the time and joining us today. We had a ton of fun. I hope we can do it again sometime soon.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate the heck out of you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Pat, in particular.
Yeah.
Yang Gang.
All right, guys. Glad Andrew Yang came on the show. That was a cool one. Interesting ideas off that guy. Yeah, hopefully he'll come back on the show at some point down the road.
Conversation.
I want to smoke. What was it? The
Yang
ganja with him.
Ganja, yeah.
Yang Ganja. Good dude, interesting dude. Yeah, we need more nerds like Yang out there running stuff, in my opinion. That's gonna do it for Hard Factor, guys. Tomorrow night, huge night. Debates. Check out the radio show today.
We also might have landed a presidential candidate from a different party for Wednesday morning show. That maybe she wasn't in part of the debate, but maybe we have a little debate with her that comes out Wednesday.
Yeah, maybe she was attacked by a flying rat at some point very recently.
You're gonna maybe want to hear that for sure.
I don't know. But guys, most importantly, really pretty important here. Have a great fucking day.